Good morning and welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. so, so you got there before me. Whew, one of those, right? I am so sorry, technical difficulties. I clicked 1 second too soon onto the link before I had plugged the camera in, and then the video is spoiled. I am so sorry about that. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. Lisa, great job. I know people are going to be filing it as they figure it out. I just reposted the sign. Oh man, on our Facebook group, Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club. Good morning, Lisa. Take two. Today, two's a charm. I'm going to fix the picture and everything else later. Same content, same show. Just me fooling around with plugs. Carol, good to see you. Good morning. M.E. Shelley. It's been one of those mornings for you too, right? As soon as I did it, I went, oh, I know the plug is it has to be in before I open the frame. April, good morning. Good to see you. Penny, good morning. Good to see you. I have your thing I'm sending out, your beautiful tie-dye. I'm so pleased with it. I ironed it for you because, as you can imagine, the wool was like puckered in the center where I tie-dyed it, where I was holding it with elastics. It looks so pretty, Penny. It looks so pretty. Robin, good to see you. Love the kitty. That's an old photo. That's Pitter Pat at home. She's a good girl. Kirsten, the unicorn has been replaced with a mermaid. Yeah. I'm going to switch that photo out for posterity so you know it's the same episode. Doreen, hello, good morning. Is it hotter than blazes in upstate New York? Ooh, it is here too. It is terribly hot. Terribly hot. Yeah, just so humid, you know. Catherine, good to see you. Barbara, good to see you. Joy, good to see you. I'm done with your stuff too. I'm going to send it, and then I'll send you an invoice when I figure it out. La Pony Girl, hello from Lori. Lori, hello. Of course, I forgot. Lori, hello. How are you? Lori, you're working on a huge piece. You are so ambitious. The rabbits and now this huge piece with the pheasants. It's so beautiful. Penny, hello. I saw earlier that Tara was on. I hope she finds us at this link. I feel so bad when that happens. It's so frustrating, you know. Anyway, let me tell you, I was thinking about Penny working on that piece for you. Gave me the idea. I'm putting out is it behind me? It is behind me. I'm putting out the class. I haven't done a couple things I wanted to do by today. Because I'm getting ready for Maine and for teaching. Me and my mom are leaving tomorrow for that. So I'm kind of focused on getting those kits done and getting orders out the door. Tara, there you are. I just said I'm so worried about Tara because I saw you on earlier before the whole technical part of the show, something to the bed. But I'm glad that you made it back. But, you know, I am going to go with, I added a few more colors to the Brady Bunch palette. I have to say I absolutely love these colors. The caramel, the silvery gray. Hello, Martha, you made it. My fault completely. This is like a dusty rose, more of a chocolate brown. Alice's uniform or Brady Bunch blue in the background. And then these are the yarns that I ended up with, sort of golden color, more of an avocado, a straw kind of color, like a still kind of yellow palette. The pumpkin-y color, right, the orange. And then I added, this one's still damp. I should take it down from there because that's quite damp. This kind of, I'm going to call it bell-bottom blue, like a denim blue. I felt like this palette needed, did you see that? It's not my day. Needed a dark, right? Dark, light, dull, bright. So I don't have any crazy brights here, mostly because we did the Summer of Love last month for our dye class, and I'm happy with the Brady Bunch palette. It's still being a retro palette, but I do want to keep the sort of 1970s colors that are still very usable for traditional rug hooking. I don't want to do two in a row that are too wacky, but I think this is a very good compromise, these colors. And I have not doctored them in any way because I haven't decided what we're going to do in that dye class. I'm going to play with them. I just wanted you to see the base colors, and I'll photograph the base colors because Barbara, it was me. I was having trouble with plugs and the camera wouldn't come on because I did things in the wrong order. It was me being a complete dinglepuss as usual with buttons and plugs. But I'm glad you made it. So I'm going to announce that class. I just want to figure out what sort of techniques I want to do. And like I said yesterday, we're going to be doing 10 colors, 5 yarns and 5 wools. And not huge quantities. I'm going to make the quantities a little bit smaller, but I'm not going to do all of them in class. I'm going to leave you to do some solids, to dye after the class. So the class will be, I think I'm going to shoot for a class that's more like 2.5 hours, because 3 for me gets like really protracted and exhausted. I feel wrecked afterward, although they're so much fun. But yeah, I'm working on that still. So that is to be continued. And I'm working on a composition for Frida, so I can start working on her, a composition inspired by her, and then I will announce the Designing Like Frida class. There's one other thing I wanted to tell you that changed since yesterday. This last call, if you're meeting me up in Maine this weekend in Kennebunkport on Saturday at the Arundel Farm Gallery, I will be there teaching punch and hooking. Fantastic class, and I have those 2 great patterns, the Try to Remember traditional sort of bouquet, and the with like the Padula flowers, and the original design I did for this class, the mousse design, which I really like. And then I was chatting yesterday with Susan at Mad River Fiber in Waitsfield, Vermont. And we changed the date that I'll be teaching there. So let me tell you that in case you're coming to Vermont. I think she just posted it yesterday. We changed it to October 16. And the reason we did that was because we had it the weekend before, and I didn't register that was Columbus Day weekend. So the combo of fall foliage and leaf peepers driving up there in tandem with like a holiday weekend made it an impossible weekend to get any accommodation. Like there was none. There was 0 came up within like 100-mile radius. And I thought, if I'm having this problem booking something for myself, people who are coming from any distance to do that class in Vermont are going to have the same problem. So we pushed it back to that week in October, and that will be a super fun class too. I haven't decided what designs I'm doing for that yet. I think I'll certainly do the owl, Moonlight Becomes You, and I'm going to probably do another original design for that class. So that'll be super fun too. I'm really looking forward to this. So many things coming up on the calendar. It's so exciting. Change of season again. I love it. I'm not rushing summer. Oh, but the thing that I thought of, besides doing that Brady Bunch class, when I was working on Penny's tie-dye, that's the 3rd tie-dye that I've done. They're very time-consuming, but it's very gratifying and rewarding when you see the finished piece. It's just amazingly beautiful. I think I'm also going to put out like a mid-month dye class that is just, it won't be for everybody in terms of interest. It'll be just tie-dyeing 4 long quarters, and it'll be the 4 seasons. And I'm going to call it something like cycles or seasons or windmills. Remember that song, Windmills of Your Mind? Try to combine that with, I love that song, with the 4 seasons, and the kit will come with like 4 long quarters of door wool, synthropol citric acid, but no loose powders. It'll probably come with something like 4 times, maybe 9 or even 12 of the hairdresser bottles already filled with the loose powder that you just add the water to, millions of elastics, and then we just do different kinds of tie-dye techniques together, and you end up with 4 different seasonal tie-dyes. So very specific for people who just want to use these really elaborate, it's across the room where I'd grab it, tie-dye pieces for hooking, but also for people who sometimes combine with like penny rug, wool applique, that kind of thing. So I think that'll be fun. It'll be fun for me too, because I feel like doing it. So it's fun to do inspired projects sometimes too. Speaking of inspired, this book is just killing me. And, I have an intention to get to the sort of Romanesque period today. And then I'm going to have to take my head out of this book. I love it so much. But there's so much to say, and it will never end, and I'll never stop if I don't force myself to stop, because this book is such a great inspiration book. There's just so many pictures in it, and you're going to love all of them. But I'm going to stop today at a set point. Hello, Elaine. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I can't wait to see my mom. She was here helping yesterday. I love spending time with her. All those years I lived in Europe, like most of my grown-up life, between England and the Netherlands, all of those years I couldn't see her, and she was, an 8-hour plane ride away, plus all the other hours and thousands of dollars to boot and all that. And now she's an hour away, and it is just so nice. It is so nice. Yeah, it's nice to be home, that's for sure. So, yeah, I'm going to stop like right at sort of 19th century because we talk about Impressionism and hooking a lot, and it's one of my favorite subjects, and I'm certainly not done with it. But I'm gonna keep going in this episode with some different examples that Janet Conner shows us of different places to find inspiration for your rug hooking patterns. Whether you're hooking commercial patterns or you're designing your own patterns, it is so nice to think about places where you might find inspiration. Which also reminds me, next week, let's do manhole covers. Let's talk about manhole covers next week. And I'm going to have, I'm not doing cocktail time this week because I'll be in Maine and I'm just worried about the connection at the B&B. And so that means that next Friday will be bingo night, the following Friday. I have another special episode I want to do, so I'm going to have to slate a time for that. We'll have to see how that goes. I might do a midweek evening episode next week. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, sorry, foreshadowing. So I'm thinking now about Romanesque and Gothic art. So the sort of time period that this covers is very loosely like the 6th century to the 11th century AD. So we're talking about a huge span of time that comes after the Dark Ages, right? And the sort of, what's the word? Dissolution, the loss of the Roman Empire as like a mega force, them kind of running to outpost type places and not functioning at this moment as a sort of unified community and continuing with the really productive and positive parts of becoming a unified and settled community, which were staying in one place, stopping fighting and, constant warlike behaviors, beginning agriculture in a committed way that will go from year to year, season to season, fallow years, thoughtful ways of working and farming and making food and a life. We got into the Dark Ages after that, and it was, when we left off yesterday, we were talking about the Celts and the Vikings, and we had returned to a very sort of militaristic kind of society, male-driven society. It was a bit rough and a bit dark. It's called the Dark Ages for a lot of good reasons. So when we come to the Romanesque period in both art and life, we're talking about a period that very focused on Christian art. And Christianity and spreading Christianity. And of course, we're not going to talk about the Crusades on this show, but that all is one of these crazy kickbacks to being very religious, right, at this time. But one of the places that we often see Romanesque and Gothic art, of course, is in cathedrals, in abbeys, in old churches. And this is a great inspiration pocket, garden pocket, as my mom would say, for hookers and punchers. Because when we look at stained glass, you have two choices, right? You can go straight Tiffany and just do a sort of, the way Janet was describing hooking a mosaic, right, of Theodora yesterday, doing like a number 3 cut, very thin, dark cut that represents grout. You can do the same thing with a stained glass composition and, use a thinner cut. I mean, I still use a thicker cut, like a 5 or a 6 or a 7 to do stained glass if I'm doing a stained glass piece. Even an 8 I sometimes do. It depends on the size of the piece. But, one of the great things about doing a great graphic piece that represents a stained glass window is it's very forgiving. And you have the choice between, I'm showing you this one here that I think is just colossal. Let me make sure you're in focus. I don't know if my eyes are in focus, so it's hard to tell. You have the choice. You see in the window behind, there's some color variation, a beautiful night sky, really contrasting perfectly with the orange arc, right? But this is just amazing. The Dove of Peace, right? This looks like the ark itself. So that this must be Noah. That follows, right? But, any stained glass window, right? This one, let me tell you the details of this one, and then let's continue the conversation. See, my eyes weren't in focus. Fingers, buttons, eyeballs, glasses. Noah's Ark stained glass, 30 by 50, number 4 to number 6 cut on rug warp, inspired by Noah's Ark stained glass, France, circa 1350. There we go. A little bit after the period we're talking about, which is now located in the Rectory Church of the Intercession, New York City. Adapted and hooked by Janet Soares, Tucson, Arizona, 2010. And Janet wrote, medieval churches cherish their stained glass. All the visual art in churches help to tell the stories of the Bible to a generally illiterate public. fantastic, right? Church windows, same function as tavern signs or shop signs or any signs. Most people can't read, so it's a problem. Stained glass windows tell the story. Gosh, that brought me right back in a flash to being in Catholic school and to the nuns taking us to the church. I guess it must have been at a certain time of year. I really should know after like all those years, shouldn't I? Looking at the Stations of the Cross on the stained glass windows and telling the stories and everything. And it was one of my actually favorite days of the year that we did that, the Stations of the Cross thing, because it was so visual and it was so beautiful, the things that they were showing us. The stories were hard to wrap your head around as like a tiny child, but so beautiful, so much inspiration. So churches, abbeys, cathedrals. Now this is a very old window that's obviously been moved to New York City. Good place for it to be for many people to see it, right? But we have the internet now too. If we're not doing, hello, Robert. Oh, it's Gayla, of course. You're enjoying the book. Oh, I'm so glad, Gayla. I'm so glad. It is so, this book has so many color pictures in it. It's unreal. It's just unreal. It's like there's many on every page. It's crazy eye candy. But, maybe your local church or local buildings, a lot of local sort of state, city, town buildings have beautiful stained glass windows. It's a great thought because you could go either full blast, flat, solid colors, and that would look gorgeous because with that cue for your eye of the leading, like the dark outlining, very forgiving, and your eye is going to read that as a stained glass window or possibly a mosaic. Or you can go the other route and use very color changing wools or materials, and that will give you a different look. Just like a stained glass window, sometimes you're looking at a stained glass window. I used to teach stained glass years ago. But, when you have the beautiful transparent glass, it's called cathedral glass, you can see right through it, and it's solid, and it gives a gorgeous glow. But then sometimes there are pieces of what's called the slag glass that are opaque, and they have many colors running through them. It's like more like candy. It looks like candy or toffee, but there's many colors running through. And those are not opaque pieces. So you get a balance between those two. They create a little darkness, the slag glass, but then the cathedral glass is nice and bright. And they both contribute something different, and you often see both of those kinds of pieces in a stained glass window. I know you can tell what I mean. Hello, Anita. Oh my gosh. Oh, they're coming this afternoon. Good. Yeah, I sent those a while ago, it seems. Let me know when you get those, Anita. The Van Gogh, and somebody else ordered a Van Gogh pack. I'm putting a bunch of Van Goghs together because I'm teaching the Madison class next month in Van Gogh too, so I'll make some more of those guys. So this is a great idea for inspiration. And as I went through the pages of this book, I saw so many sort of our greatest hits. Images that we've talked about on Coffee Time. I couldn't believe it. I thought we must be doing something right here because I turned the page and I saw Gisela Burtis, Adam and Eve Together Again, designed and hooked by Barbara Prentice, Springfield, Virginia, 2018. And do you remember the Coffee Time where we were looking at the Rug Hooking magazine article where Barbara was talking about having hooked, I can't remember if it was first Adam or Eve, but one of them was missing, like from the church, like it was impossible to get the finished image, and she didn't know where to go with the rest of the design. And then I forget the details of the story, but it was one of these happy ending stories where the image was recovered and she was able to complete the design and finish. I think it was Eve as a partner for Adam. I think part of Eve was missing, but looking at these pictures, I thought, oh my gosh, we did that so long ago, that episode of Coffee Time. So beautiful. And then I turned the page again, a few turns, and I found another, gosh, I feel like something's crawling on me. I found another image that reminded me of another great episode we did. I think we did a few episodes. June Miles. Do you remember those episodes when we looked at her book? She hooks a lot of men, I think mostly men. In that regard, so different, but sort of very, very different costume, different parts of the world, very sort of culturally conscious compositions. Even the backgrounds are really, really different. Both of these images are June Miles. I forget what the name of her book is. It's way over there on my shelf. But we did, if you Google the Coffee Time episode with June Miles, M-Y-L-E-S, Reading, Connecticut. She's from Reading. I met her at a hook-in right before 2020 problems. And I'm careful not to say it because then the video might get flagged. But yeah, and she was such a lovely person. So I was happy to see that too. And I thought, whoa, those are two familiar rugs we've covered. And then I went a little bit further, and Janet Connor in this book starts to talk about the sort of age of exploration, right? Christopher Columbus, dawn of discovery, like there's lots of tags for the same time period. But it brought me to my friend Michelle Micarelli's piece that I haven't seen for a while, Columbus. I'll show you this. This is one of Michelle's great pieces. Very iconic piece, I think, in the rug cooking world. And again, that's Michelle Micarelli, and this is the piece called Columbus. Absolutely amazing, like all of her pieces. Oh, Relda, you're on. You went to the immersive Van Gogh exhibit last weekend. How great is that? Oh, that is so great. I just saw a clip of it. Man, I'm like a raggle-taggle mess today. I saw a clip of it on, it came up on Facebook or something, and it showed the scene. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't been. It showed the scene with the almond blossoms blowing, and I thought, oh, that is so dreamy. I mean, it was just amazing watching other people enjoy it. I got to get to Boston and get there. I'm so glad that you managed to get there, Elda and Tara. I know a lot of our buddies. Barbara, you've been there too. Yeah, interesting images of Adam and Eve. I always love religious art and paintings and stuff. I just feel it's so inspired, even when it's not particularly good. Those are very, very good. But I love to see the stories come to life that day. Extraordinary. And then she shows us things like this, the Mona Lisa, which of course is copyright free. It's on everything, right? But showing the Mona Lisa, a little bit more of that mysterious smile, a little bit more of a smile here. But choosing out highlight colors that are different, choosing blues and light blues and sky blues, even making the lips a little bit rosier. She looks certainly less mysterious. Very recognizable as the Mona Lisa, but doing a lot of play. It's so fun to play with an image that we are all incredibly familiar with, right? The Mona Lisa, probably the most famous piece of art. If you were to name a piece of art, I think most people would probably say the Mona Lisa. But, interesting to use an image that everybody has a baseline for, right? Because when you start with something like the Mona Lisa and then you start experimenting with colored highlights and the color wheel, dark, light, dull, bright, but using a different main color other than gray, like a shadow of gray or a dark flesh color, just going to another color and using the sort of full spectrum of that color to do highlights in the same exact way you would with any other color. For example, dark shadows and grays and browns and blacks or whatever. Works the same way. So it's so interesting to do that because it's not like you're starting from scratch. Everybody knows what they expect to see, and when they see something different, I think it makes it even more magical and more effective because we all know the image so well. It's funny, I turned the page looking at this, the whole sort of Renaissance period of art that she's covering in this book, and I've been watching Cheers, marathons of Cheers like crazy. And I remember the line where Sam said it was Shelley Long's birthday. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, she's had a bit of a tough life, but what a great character, what a great person. But she was talking to Sam, and everybody at the bar dared Sam to name one piece of art, like name any piece of art, like because they had gone to a museum exhibit, and Diane was really proud that Sam was becoming so cultured, and the guys at the bar were giving him a hard time, and they said, "Can you name one piece of art that you saw at the exhibit?" And of course he couldn't, and then they said, "Can you name one piece of art at all?" And he said, "Two men touching fingers." Of course he meant this from the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo's piece, but it was just funny because of course that's not the name of it, Two Men Touching Fingers, but it was just one of those great lines from Cheers. It made me laugh, still making me laugh, makes me laugh thinking about that. That show is so funny. Another reason to go to Boston, right? So she gets into, the book sort of deviates from the really well-defined sort of periods, eras of history, right? Getting away from like named sort of civilizations and getting toward naming artists. Like, for example, she has a whole area that's called Titian. So we know that we're going to be looking at things that resemble Titian's art and painting, particularly things that are set in Italy, particularly Venice. So from there, she shows you like a Titian that's hooked, that's absolutely beautiful. Or that might be a Canaletto. The Gran Rialto. I'm thinking that's Titian. But of course, you could equally do Canaletto. It depends on how big of a backing you've got to work on. But all of these great images from this period of Venice, right? All the beautiful architecture. And I think the thing that makes that period so interesting is it's so much glorious, exceptional architecture, but mixed with these like arched bridges all over the place, right? And all this water makes it so interesting. I hope you've been to Venice. I hope you get to Venice. What a fun place. What a strange atmosphere and what a fun place. I got my only tattoo in Venice about 30 years ago. Can you believe that? I would never do it now, and it's in a hidden place. But I got it in Venice at about 11:30 at night. Very, not very reputable place. But those were the crazy days of being very young and stupid. Anyway, so she gets into Venice, daydreaming. She gets into things that have to do with Venice and masks and stuff. And she pulls out another one of my all-time favorites from Michelle Miccarelli, Afternoon Delight. We looked at this one when I did the show over at Michelle's house because she lives right near me. Get that in focus. So, not really, certainly not Titian, but she's getting into the feel of that sort of Venetian carnival feel with things with masks, this kind of a feel. So parts of the book are more based on motifs and themes, stuff like this. Let me show you some of these close up. This little juggler here, I'll tell you who did that in just a minute. Let me show you this whole page. A nice playing card with like a courtier kind of a character on it. Look at this great piece here. Isn't that something? I just love stuff like this. I love, what is it called? I always forget that word that begins with an A when you, anamorphic, something like that. When an animal is like dressed as a human being, you know what I mean? Gosh, why am I blanking out on that? But this is supposed to be Queen Elizabeth, of course, with the giant Elizabethan ruff. But it's a sheep, and it's got like, I also love the attention to detail. She's showing like the Tudor rose and the Lancaster roses. Like she's showing real symbols for that period. Interesting. I love Michelle too. I haven't seen her for a while, my buddy. I got to get over there. But the Juggler of Hearts, was also hooked by Michelle, by Ralph Caparulo. Okay, so this is also Michelle. I've never seen this one. I've never seen it over her house either. It mustn't be at her house because otherwise I'm pretty sure I would have seen it. But that's Michelle too. Really beautiful soft colors, huh? And the playing card was, oh my gosh, still Michelle Miccarelli. Holy mackerel. That one looks a bit more familiar. And I'm noticing that she loves taxidermy, Michelle. And I have to admit I do too. She has like real, it looks like little sable bits. I'm sure this is old taxidermy. She's not irresponsible. She's an animal lover. But she's got like fur right here on the epaulets, right? And it looks like this is a three-dimensional object too, like the glove. She likes to do that. She's a big anamorphic. Yeah, thank you, Doreen. That was going to drive me crazy. Anthropomorphic. Maybe now they're probably the same, right? I can't remember if there's the thra or not, but we got it. We're onto it. We got it. Hard words. Why can't it just be animal in a dress? But yeah, so Queen Elizabeth was hooked by Pris Butler, designed and hooked. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. So, then it gets into Dutch realism, of course, and then we're talking about Vermeer. I'm not seeing any actual examples of Vermeer. I think we will later, though. So I want to show you the Four Seasons because I used it for the thumbnail, designed and hooked by Janet Connor, based on an anonymous Elizabethan woodcut, right? So absolutely beautiful. Some of you commented on it yesterday when I posted the thread, and I will attach this back. Let me get it in focus. I will attach this back to this video. Even though I made a pig's breakfast out of the video, this will be our thumbnail again. But you can see it does represent the Four Seasons, and I thought that was worth saying. And again, so interesting if you're a reader, if you're an Anglophile, the Four Seasons, but beyond that, you've got like specific roses for specific sort of English ruling dynasties, royal families. I'm sure that the plants have significance. Taken from a woodcut, but nonetheless, it's filled with symbolism. And I think that's so interesting because you can really combine your personal interests in your reading with working on a hooked project. And isn't it great when you do that, Vermeer? On the next page. And that reminded me, remember yesterday I was talking about our book club meeting on Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tracy Chevalier, a single line. And I was saying, she always reminds me of another writer. The other writer is Susan Vreeland, right, who wrote Girl with a Pearl Earring, right? That wasn't Tracy Chevalier. They both write really top-notch, great books that that revolve around historical themes and people. So for me, they cross wires a lot because to me they're both equally great writers. And my mother named Joanna Harris, who's also like unbelievably great. So yeah, so she moves into sort of Rembrandt, Delft, Netherlands, Delft type blue and white stuff. And then she moves to Czech Lady and Russian Village, both done by Sharon Smith. So you can see at this time she's very broadly talking about time periods, but she's showing you more pieces that have a cultural hat tip to a certain place rather than a certain time. So this is Russian Village by Sharon Smith, my favorite. I just noticed how much this looks like eyes on this little building, doesn't it? Eyes and lips. Maybe is that there? No, they're windows, but that looks like eyes. Isn't that funny? I didn't see that until, in this one I have this pattern, Czech Lady. I absolutely love this. Those are both Sharon Smith. Fantastic. So this book really, really travels. And I'll probably stop there because then she gets into the 19th century, which is Romanticism, Impressionism, Expressionism, Pre-Raphaelites, Realism. There's lots. But we're getting to the end of the chapter, and I want to give you a lot. I better not even look at it because I'm not going to be able to stop myself. It's such a good book. It's crazy. It's such a good book. Magnificent hook drugs. Me too. I love the colors. Tracy did write. Oh, did she write Girl with a Pearl Earring? So then what did Susan Vreeland write? Hyacinth Dress. I'm like possessed sometimes. Hyacinth. Then she must have written The Girl with the Hyacinth Dress, right? They're so similar. So Tracy Chevalier is the girl with the pearl earring. I loved that, and I read that when it came out. So that was a long time ago. I am loving. I don't know if you're reading it too, or if you're finished reading it. You are so welcome to come to the book club, whether you finished reading it or not, as long as you don't mind spoiler alerts. It is such a good book. It is such a good book. I'm enjoying it so much. You know, I tend to just read nonfiction these days because I'm always reading about rug hooking or history or something like that. I rarely read fiction books anymore, but I am enjoying it immensely. It is such a good story, and I'm not at the end yet, so I do not know if it's going to end. I'm hoping it doesn't end on a kind of sad or sour note because that always upsets me deeply, and I have a hard time pulling out of it mood-wise. You have the Czech Lady pattern, but you've, me too, been apprehensive about starting it. Me too, Carol. I have it, and I've had it for like a year, and I haven't done it yet. But yeah, this book is great, and I hope you tune in on Sunday night. I'm going to come shooting back Sunday morning from Maine so that I can be there on time for the book club. Hopefully no traffic. And I'm really looking forward to it. It is so good. And you know, I'm gonna say it in the book club meeting too, but in listening to this book so far, not knowing what the ending is, if there's some kind of it's getting toward I don't want to do any spoilers, but it's getting toward Hitler. It's a a story that's set after World War I, and they're kind of recovering from the shocks of that in terms of families being broken. And it's now they're getting into mentioning Hitler, so I have a bad feeling about that because we know something, right, that the characters don't know. But at the same time, without that heavy baseline of like wars, like world wars, she reminds me in this book. If you have read the book and you love the book, she reminds me of the writer Barbara Pym, Pym. And I wonder if you know that writer. If you're a great reader and you love this book, you will love Barbara Pym. Pym. A little bit later, her masterpiece is what's considered her masterpiece is called Excellent Women. It's a little bit more woman sort of driven. It's a small English village, always about women, always different stories, never the same characters, always a different sort of cast of characters, but the same kind of feel, small dramas that can really hurt or elevate, and small stories, but beautiful, set in an English village. The same atmosphere for me. So in listening and reading to the Chevalier's story, I keep thinking about Barbara Pym and how much I want to get back to her books because she wrote a lot, and they're all in the same style, and they're very, very solid, work that she put out in her life. You will finish it, Lisa, but even if you don't finish it, you should still come to the call. And even if you haven't started it and you're just working on your hooking and you want something to do, tune in from 4 to 5. The Zoom information is in the... Oh, you know what? I'll post the Zoom information in this video, too, in case you're not on Facebook. I'll post the Zoom information at this video, too, as soon as we close. Tune in whether you read it or not. Nobody's going to ask you any questions. Nobody's going to put you on the spot. And Marcia, who came up with the idea for this book, to use this book for this month's Hook and Book, she's going to be hosting a good part of it so that I can kind of relax too and do some hooking. And I'm certainly going to be an active part of it, but you be as active a part of it as you want. There's no pressure. No one's going to say, so-and-so, what did you think the overarching theme was toward the end of the book? Nobody's going to say anything like that to you. So you are fine just hooking and listening, and or even having your camera off if you just want to be there and have the company. That is always fine for me. Have note Pym, P-Y-M, Barbara Pym. Yeah, she's excellent. I would start with Excellent Women. I love all of her books, even the ones that came a lot later, the last ones before her death, a little bit more modern, but still kind of a touch of bleakness, but also hope. Very small stories of small lives, but so much that you can identify with, particularly if you're a woman. Things you can really identify with, and she picks things out from everyday life, and you think, yeah, I know that, or I know that person, or I've done that, or I've, they're so good. They're so good. Just like Tracy Chevalier's is super, super good. So I will see you. We are putting away Magnificent Hooked Rugs for now. Janet Connor, I love you. We love you. I mean, this is, her website is unbelievable, right? All the things she offers, the Hutchinson rugs. She's got lots of nice traditional rugs, lots of her own stuff. And a book like this is just like the feather on the cap, the icing on the cake, right? It's unbelievably great. So I will see you next on Sunday. I might record a video before then. We'll see how it goes. And I'm going to put the Zoom info and all the things I told you about into this video. And if you need me, ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. But otherwise, maybe I'll see you on Saturday in class in Kennebunkport. Me too, Ralda. I'm happy to see you. I was wondering about you. I will see you on Sunday night for Hook and Book at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And otherwise, coffee time Monday, regular time, noon Eastern Standard Time. See you then. Have a great few days. Hope to see you sooner rather than later.